This is your half hour of mindful crafting. This is a half an hour. It's a half an hour for you to do some mindful crafting. What do we mean by mindful? Well, I suppose it's something that gets used a lot at the moment, isn't it? But what I find, activities that come under the kind of banner of mindful, I find are really useful for helping us to focus on what we're doing right now, rather than thinking about the future, thinking about the past, thinking about things that went wrong, thinking about things that might be about to happen that we might be worried about, or, you know, have to do a lot of planning for. So I am a person who is autistic and ADHD, and that's a fairly recent diagnosis for me. So I have, over many, many years, developed many techniques for helping to get myself to a calm place. And one of the things that I've always found really, really useful is arts and crafts. One of the crafts that is really helpful, I think, is crochet. Okay, it's because you don't need that many things for it. The things that you need are quite easy to find. They're not very expensive, and they're quite easy to sort of store and also to travel with you. So you can put them in a bag, take them somewhere, do them on the bus, do them while you're waiting for an appointment, whatever it might be. I've also got today a nice cup of coffee. So settle down and get whatever drink of choice. This is my cup of ambition. I don't know if you can see this, but I have poured myself a cup of ambition. And my ambition today really is just to focus on colours, shapes, patterns, feelings, learning new things, looking at what we're doing, not getting distracted by all the busy things going around in our brains. Keep that handy there. I've also got a glass of water. I've also got another essential item, which are some reading glasses, because, you know, eyes not what they were. So it's really really handy to have these. So I'm going to talk you through some of the things that we have for crochet. Now, when I talk about these various stringy things that we use for crochet, I am not going to use the term wool. I'm going to talk about yarn, because wool is what this is made of. It's made of pure merino wool. So I'm going to talk about yarn, because yarn could include everything from acrylics to pure wool to this stuff, which is t-shirt yarn. It's basically made of recycled end of roll jersey fabrics from industrial clothing making, and you can do all sorts of things with that. You could also crochet with old plastic bags. You could crochet with cut up tights or t-shirts or socks, and we wouldn't call that wool, we'd call it yarn, because yarn is the stringy stuff that we crochet with. This is an acrylic yarn. The weight of the yarn is called DK, or double knitting. So the reason for that, I've only just come to understand, is when you untwiddle it, I'm hoping this will work, it's got it hasn't, they lied to me, it's got 3 strands. Ignore that, I don't know why it's called double knitting. This is called double knitting, I don't know why. Okay, it's a kind of middleweight sort of yarn. It's the one that you will find most often in places like Home Bargains, Poundland, all your kind of nice cheap and cheerful places where you're going to find lots of good priced bargain yarns. And this DK is the basic one that we need for everything. So at the moment, I would focus on getting yourself a few DKs in a few colours. If we want to get fancy, This is an acrylic roving. It's called roving because it's kind of fluffy and odd textures, and it's designed to look like it's pure wool, but it's acrylic. So basically made of plastic. Perfectly good, perfectly nice, very soft and squishy. These are pure wool. And these are some acrylic DKs in smaller little bundles. So these came in 50-gram bundles, possibly even 25-gram. 25-gram these were. And this is 100 grams. So you can see for 100 grams you get quite a lot. You would probably pick this up for maybe between £1.50 to £2 in a kind of a bargain type shop. And this is a small rabbit. So what else are we going to need? We're going to need some scissors, a big-eyed needle, and we need some hooks. Here we go. So for crochet, we only need one hook when we're working, and that makes life a little bit easier. You can get massive chunky hooks like this. This is 10mm. So that's a 10mm hook. The sizes on the hooks are shown in millimeters. Obviously that is the width of the hook across here, and so that's 1 centimetre, 10mm. They do come bigger than that, but that's the biggest you probably get in a pack when you buy them all together. The most practical sizes that you're probably going to use for most projects at the moment are 6mm, a 5mm. I bet you don't know what's coming next. I bet you can't guess. A 5mm. It's a 4.5, a 4.5mm, and then finally a 4mm. And they go smaller than this, but this is the most useful range that you will have at the moment for starting out. These are metal hooks, nice and strong. You can also get them with these rubber handles, so sometimes they're more comfortable for holding in your hands. I prefer the straight up and down metal ones, but it's whatever is comfortable for you. So this is a 5mm. Again, it shows on the rubber handle the size of the hook, and it's the same. Where's our 5mm? That's our 5mm. So you can see the actual hooky part is the same size, although it's got the rubber handle on that one. So that's your hooks. Where are you going to get your hooks from? Obviously places like eBay, Amazon, sorry but true. You can also pick them up in places, sometimes in your sort of home bargains, Poundland places, you might get lucky. Your sort of local hardware store type places, if you are lucky enough to have a local craft store, or even like a hobby craft or something like that. The Works, if there's still a few of those stores left, they do a nice set of about 5 different sizes of hooks, which are all the sizes you'll need. Scissors, I would get a little pair, nice and handy to hold. If you want ones that you can carry around in your handbag, I suggest you get some of these children's ones with the rounded end so you don't accidentally stab yourself, and that's a really good idea. And these are Poundland, home bargains, anywhere like that. Plastic needles, these you can get in a pack of about 100, again somewhere like eBay or Amazon. You can also just get the metal large-eyed darning needles, which you might be able to find in your Poundland, home bargains, those type of places, local haberdashery shop, department store, etc, etc. So this little kit, which is what you need to begin, doesn't cost an awful lot, and obviously your yarn that you're going to get to begin with, a couple of pounds for 100-gram ball of yarn, perfect. And that's it, because this is mindful. Now you've got your kit, you take a bit of time choosing. So one of the pleasures of doing something like crochet is just choosing colours. So I'm feeling in the warm zone today. So we're going to be going with these nice, warm, soft colours. But then I'm going to throw some black in there because why not? And that looks dramatic, doesn't it? So let's choose a hook. Not going with the 6.5 mil. Not going with the 6. The 4 is a bit small for today. So we're going to reject all of these. Sorry, rejecting them. There they go. And we're going with this 5 mil hook. If you've never ever done this before, I'm going to start right from the beginning. Clear a few of these away. And we're going to start with this nice red yarn. And the first thing we need to do is a slip knot. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a loop that will go onto the hook and be able to slide up and down and not be too tight on the hook. So in theory what we could do is just get our yarn, tie it on like that, and yeah, that can slide up and down, but it will also loosen quite easily, and we can't sort of, yeah, it's not it's not got the flexibility that we need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a loop like that. The short end of the yarn is underneath and the long end is on top. My hook is going underneath, just going underneath that loop, okay, the loop of the short end which is there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out with the hook and grab that end. So I've got this wiggly kind of pretzel thing now. And then my hook under the loop I've just made, I'm going to take these two ends and pull. And now I've got a really big loop on the hook. Ooh, a bit too big. And I've got two ends, an end, short end and a long end. If I pull, there we go. It tightens up to make a flexible loop. I can make bigger if I need to. And it can move up and down the hook. Now when we're working stitches, we're trying to work them in this biggest area of the hook because that is the bit that's 5mm, not this little tight bit up here, the smaller bit by the top of the hook. So I'm going to have some more coffee. This yarn is really nice and soft, and I got this a real bargain bundle, I think like 50 little 25-gram balls, which are really nice for when you're making little toys or other kind of like granny squares or blanket squares or things like that. It's really nice soft yarn. I've been really pleased with it. So we've got our loop on the hook and we can secure that by putting our thumb on it. Now the thing, that's not my thumb, that's my finger. Put my finger on it. Okay. The thing that you will learn hopefully as you go along is what is comfortable for you. So there isn't one way. Everybody that I see who does crochet does it differently, and there isn't one way to do it. It's about finding what's comfortable for you, where you put your hands, where you put the yarn, which fingers go where, etc., etc. So I'm going to hold this loop because if I don't hold it, it'll just twiddle round like that when I get going. One finger on the loop like that. I would suggest that you put your yarn to the back of working so that the tail of the yarn, where it attaches to the yarn ball, is always coming out of the back of your work. This little tail here, not to be confused, we can cut that a bit shorter actually, so it's even less confusing. There we go. So with the hook facing me, we're going to start to do the foundation of all crochet, and the foundation is a chain stitch. And when we make a little series of chains, then everything is possible from there. So we start making our little series of chains, and this is how we do it. I'm going to, between my finger and thumb, I'm going to hold that little tail. Can you see I'm holding the tail? And I'm putting my finger on there to stop that wiggling round. With the yarn at the back of the hook, I'm wrapping the yarn over the top of the hook. So now I've got the yarn wrapped from the back over the top, and I've got one loop there and one loop there. Now I'm going to switch my fingers so that I'm grabbing this tail with the fingers on my left hand. Now obviously if you're left-handed, you're going to just swap these instructions around so that you're working that way. I'm right-handed. Now I'm going to use the hook to pull the loop I've just made through the one that's already on there. Now notice how I didn't have to fiddle around here with my fingers to make this loop go through the hook. The loop was light enough and soft enough and open enough to not have to do that at all. It just goes through like that. And this is the trick at this stage. We don't want to be like this, to be all tight and tense. We want virtually no tension in this yarn at all. So when we want to make bigger stitches or smaller stitches with crochet, we're going to swap for a bigger or smaller hook. We're not going to make our stitches smaller by putting this tension in here. So when you're making these loops, you have to relax. You have to be soft and gentle. So I'm grabbing this tail, using the hook to pull it through. Wrap, hook, pull it through. Like that. Wrap, hook, pull it through. Wrap, pull it through. Wrap, pull it through. Wrap, pull it through like that. Just keep going. Now if you're working to a pattern, your pattern would tell you how many chains to make. As it is, we're just having some fun and improvising, so we can make as many chains as we feel like really for now. So I'm not even gonna count this time. I'm just gonna do chains until I feel like I've done enough chains. Boo, boo, boo. Things that I've been making a lot of lately have included, when the weather was a bit colder, and it's still quite cold now, but it is on the turn to spring, I was making a lot of fingerless gloves and slippers. So however warm the house is, you always get cold feet at this time of year, don't you? So I've been making lots of slippers, and as we've been going into the spring, I've been making flowers because I want to do a little display with crochet flowers. That's a little bit more advanced than what we're doing today. Today we're just going to make a square, I guess. We just see what it turns into as we go. Okay, so we've got our hook, and if you can see these beautiful little chains now, all connected together, we're going to take our hook and we're going to put it not into the first chain we see, but into the second one. And we're just going to go through the top loop of that chain so that what we have now on the hook is 1, 2 loops. And then again, always keeping our yarn at the back of the work. So going out this way, we're going to wrap once, and that loop is going to come through the first loop. So now we've got 2 on the hook. We're going to wrap again, and that one is coming through 1, 2. Now we make sure that we do those in the order that they're on the hook. So we're not going to do the first one or the last one. We're going to do, that doesn't make any sense. Let me show you. So now we're not skipping the next one. Can you see the one here that I've just worked in? The loop has gone really, really big. So your first instinct is, that's the next loop. But all that's happened is that loop has been stretched out because we've just worked a stitch in it. So actually, it's not this big one that's shouting at us and saying, this way. It's the next one along. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go into that loop, 2 on the hook, wrap, 1, wrap, 2. And you can see these stitches are quite big and loose. As you go along, you learn to make the stitches a little bit tighter, and I'm making them quite loose here just so that it's very clear and you can see what's going on. But I wouldn't go much tighter than what they are here, to be honest. This is a good... So you see I've just run the yarn between 2 fingers there. I'm not wrapping it tight around there. It's just literally running between 2 of my fingers. Keep it nice and soft. Now what I find with crochet, as I said before, it's a really good activity that I can just have in a basket next to my sofa, so that if I've, put TV on or watching a movie or even just sitting there doing nothing, it gives me something that I feel I've achieved during the day. So if I've made, a glove or a pair of slippers or even just a nice little bit of blanket or something like that, it gives you that sense that you've achieved something. It's very grounding, so you feel like you are just in the moment, and you have to concentrate, because if you don't concentrate, look, this is what happens if you don't concentrate. You get a nice bit of unintentional knitting. Sometimes I might just sit and spend an hour untangling some yarn, and that's tremendous fun. Okay, so you can see now these nice little stitches, and you see how loose and relaxed they are. I am going to cast off this colour and start a new colour. I am not the world's crochet expert, so I may do things in my own way that somebody might think, oh, that's not right. Okay, fair enough. We'll just have to live with that. So this is how we're going to finish off our colour. We pull up the loop that's on the hook, nice and big, and then we put the hook through the loop, and we pull that tail end through the loop and pull it up tight. And all these little loose ends, this is why we have a nice big plastic needle. What we're going to do, and this is called weaving in your ends. I would normally do this right at the end of a project when I've done everything. Or actually, I would normally do this never. I just never get round to this bit, and I just have a bag full of beautiful crochet pieces whose ends have never been woven in. And would anyone like to do that? If you're really, really into weaving in ends, that's a nice project for somebody. Okay, perhaps not. So I've got my next colour here, and it's this very bright pink, and this is all I'm going to do. So we're going back to the end where we started, and now you can see it's slightly different along the next row. So if you're not sure which is your top and which is your bottom, on the bottom you're just going to have these single loops that you can see. On the top you're going to have these lovely little V-shaped loops all the way along, boom, 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 like that. And if you're not sure how many stitches you've done, you can count these loops and then you'll know how many stitches you've done. Okay, so we're going to put our hook through the first set of V-shaped loops. We're going to get our yarn and pull it through there, and then I am literally going to tie the yarn in that corner. Again, hook through the loop there. So this time, if you remember before, we were working into one loop like that. On the second row, we're going to work into both of those loops. So all the way along, we're going to go through both of those loops. And now you can see why it was so important to make those loops nice and loose and soft. So to begin with, when we were starting on a new row, we need to do a chain stitch to go up one level. So we're going to do one chain stitch. And if you remember, the chain stitch was where we wrapped, pulled the loop that we've made through the loop that's on the hook. Now we're going to go into this loop here, under, wrap, pull it through one, wrap, pull it through two, like that. Same thing here. We're going under two loops, wrapping through two loops, wrapping through two loops, like that. We're going to go all the way to the end of the row. Again, this is lovely soft acrylic yarn, and something like this could be the basis of a blanket, a scarf. There are really only 2 stitches to learn with crochet that you're going to need for most projects, and every other stitch you see is a combination of these two things. So this one is called double crochet. 1, wrap 2, 2 steps through the loops, wrap 1, wrap 2, 2 steps. So in American patterns, that's going to be called single crochet, confusingly. So now you can see where all your nice little new colour has joined on. We've come to the end here, and we're going to turn the work. We're going to wrap. So when we come to the end of a row, if we want the row to be nice, evenly straight lines, we're going to do a turning chain. That basically raises up our work to the next level so that it's not all squished down at one end, it's nice and even. So we're going to go not in this first loop here, but in this second one from the hook. Through here, wrap 1, wrap 2, and now you can see that edge is nice and square. Wrap 1, wrap 2. So what you're looking at here is the hook going in and wrapping, the hook and wrapping, and the hook, wrapping and wrapping, and the colour. And you're thinking about maybe you're thinking far enough ahead to think about what your next colour might be. You might think, what could this be made into when it's finished? You might think, oh, I don't know. You might be thinking about your next project. But hopefully there's enough focus and concentration in this activity that you're not thinking much beyond your next stitch. And I think especially when you're learning something new. So what I find, even though, you know, doing the double crochet like this is pretty much second nature for me now, so I will challenge myself with learning a different pattern. And then that gets me back into that thoughtful place of focus. So it's a really good focus activity. It's a good thing to fidget with your hands, to have something active to do, especially if you're in a setting where you can't really be physically active, like you're in a meeting, or you're sat on the bus, or, you know, sat on the train or something like that. it gives you calming focus and something to do with your hands and your eyes and your brain all at the same time. So I'm going to finish off the pink here. So I'm going to cut, snip, pull up the loop. Oh, I've left that a bit short. Pull the end through the loop, pull it up tight. There we go. Now for a bit of drama, I'm going to introduce the black here. Cutting off that end because the end doesn't look too nice. So again, we're going into the first stitch of that row. Going to hook the yarn through. Tie it. And I know that's cheating. I'm going to do it anyway. Do the loop. Wrap. 1, 2. Skip the first one into the second one. And proceed on our merry way. Now you perhaps notice that what I'm doing here is this tail end, I'm actually working over it. So when I go through that loop there, I'm making sure that that tail is lying along the edge of the crochet. So I'm catching it. So that gives me a lot less weaving in to do at the end, which is great because it means I don't have to add it to the big pile of weaving in that I didn't want to do and have never got around to. It means that if you're doing this as a blanket, a lot of these edges where you've got the loose bits that need weaving in, they can be woven into as you're making it up your squares, so as you're joining your squares together. So that's one sort of solution to that. There we go. This could almost become, I've made it a bit bigger, like a little bracelet. So I'm going to finish this off for now because I think we've done our nice little half an hour. Again, cut the thread, hook through the loop, pull it through, pull it up tight. But yeah, so that's your basic idea of your double crochet, changing colours. You've learned your chains, you've learned your slip knot, casting on and off, different types of hooks, different types of yarns, and yeah, I hope you've enjoyed having a nice relaxing half an hour for yourself and being creative, being mindful. There we go. Enjoy.